Thank you for tuning in to Upon the Rock broadcast. I'm your host, Pastor Lawrence Shakir. I believe the Word of God will build a godly foundation in the lives of people. There is more available information on our website. You can log on to shakirministries.org. Now, let's go into today's message. Teaching today is called the Spirit of Haman. Anybody know who Haman is?
Something with Esther.
Something with Esther.
He tried to get, is it Mordecai?
Look at you, Bible student. No, girl.
He tried to get, is that the one that tried to get him? Like for instance, he was saying.
Let the Lord use you. Let the Lord use you. Keep
I was trying to say, you should have him riding on a donkey and all that stuff.
Good.
And he wanted it for himself, but they wound up giving it to Mordecai. Yeah.
He's the
Sorry.
first. No, you're good. You're good. This teaching is going to be more interactive anyway. He's the first Hitler of the Bible.
Oh.
He's the first Hitler. He's the one that tried to kill all the Jews.
Yep.
Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Now, there's a certain spirit about this that I want to bring out. Because I'm not saying that people want to go around killing. Now, there are some people that want to go around and kill Jews. But some people can walk around every day and have this kind of spirit. And it's not about so much annihilation of a certain group of people, but it's more of an annihilation of a certain group of people that you don't like. You know what I mean? So sometimes you can not like a certain type of person, and before you even really get to know them, you just got an influence. And when you operate in ministry, I want to let you all know from personal experience, some people are just not going to like you. You can be the nicest guy. You can hug people, you can talk nice, and some people just won't like you. But what do you do with that? Do you just kind of just kill them and hang them and talk crazy to them? Or do you have to rise above that level? So everybody just go to Esther chapter 3. We're going to kind of park the bus, and we're going to all journey through this thing together. Esther chapter 3. Just going to give you a little background history about Esther, if you all are not familiar with it. Esther was a Jewish girl. She hid her Jewish background because not that she was ashamed, it's just her uncle or cousin. Is it cousin or uncle? I forget. Uncle. Mordecai told her, don't tell everybody who you are. And sometimes when you're going in certain places of business, new business or career or anything you're doing, sometimes God place on your heart to hide a little bit about yourself. Not that you're ashamed, but it's just that it's not necessary for this time for people to see everything what you're really made of. So he gives you gifts, but then he also says, keep this portion of you a little bit hidden. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times that's what God will do because he knows what's down the road. He knows the day you reveal that you're a child of God, and some people are just going to instantly start giving you a hard time or whatever. And if you reveal that you're this and that and such and such, instantly before people even know you, they're going to start hating on you. So sometimes God allows you to kind of just stay incognito a little bit because he wants to work out a few things, and then when you get to an area of influence, then he wants you to reveal that part about you. But your character ought to stay there. But you don't have to go and tell everybody who you are. But sometimes if you talk too much, yeah, it can kind of backfire. You can ask Joseph. Tell everybody your dream if you want to. Somebody's going to start hating on you. You can only share your dream with other dreamers. You can't share your dream with just about anybody who smiles and winks at you. Everybody's not on your team. So you got to use wisdom with that. So Esther was a Jewish girl. She ended up becoming queen because she followed the advice of her uncle Mordecai and so forth. And God actually just put favor on her. Let's just be honest. So she had this favor, and then she ended up being the queen, excuse me. Well, we're going to pick up in Exodus chapter 3. There was another person who kind of came from the background to the forefront too, because God will do that. Sometimes he'll take you from being just in obscurity, nobody knows your name, nobody cares who you are, and all of a sudden you're in a management position or you're in some kind of influence position in front of all these people. And in order for you to stay there, like I just said earlier, it requires the right kind of character. So in this story, forgive me if I'm rambling because we're going to just kind of journey through this. There are going to be two types of leaders that I want you to kind of pay attention to. You're going to have Haman, and you're going to have Esther. Obviously, Esther is the one that you kind of want to be like, but let's just kind of look at some of the characteristics of Haman. All right, so We're in Esther chapter 3. Everybody there? Esther chapter 3? I got an NIV version. May sound difficult. We can still follow along. I'm just going to kind of keep reading. And I'm going to be honest with you. It's a long teaching. That's why I asked them to sing only 3 songs. Because this teaching's long. But I'm not going to bore you. I just want you all to kind of see the journey of this teaching that God has showed me. And I want you all to kind of see it yourself too. So we may be in the Bible a little bit. Is that okay? Because sometimes I know I try to make it easy on you all with the pictures and the scriptures, but sometimes God just says, just open the Bible and just read. That's all he wants for today. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to open the Bible and we're going to just read. So, Haman chapter 3. Esther chapter 3, verse 1. After these events, which is the events was Esther being queen. After these events, King Xerxes honored Haman, son of, hard name, I'm not going to say it, but he's an Agagite, elevating him and giving him a seat of honor higher than all the other nobles. So in other words, this guy was almost like a vice president, almost like a governor. He was somebody who was in influence, and he was over everybody except for the king, second in command. Okay? So watch this. So he came from the background to the forefront. Now watch, look at his characteristics. Verse 2. All the royal officials of the king's gate knelt down. Everybody say knelt down.
Knelt down.
And paid honor. Say paid honor.
Paid honor.
To Haman, for the king had commanded this concerning him. But, everybody say but.
But.
Mordecai. Y'all know what but means, right? Cancel out everything. So, but Mordecai. In other words, King James Version says a certain Jew, I think it says. But we're going to keep going. It says, but Mordecai would not kneel or pay him honor. Let me just pause right there. I just said this earlier. Sometimes when you all are in influence, you're going to get people that just may not like you. And you know, how you handle them will determine how long you will stay in that seat of authority. So, and some people just need to be won over. You know, the Bible talks about a certain man. So in other words, let's apply to our lives. If you're in a leadership position, some people don't like you because of the seat that you sit in. It's not you. It's the seat that you sit in. And that seat of influence causes people to get jealous because they actually envy that same seat. And so don't see it as an attack on you, but see it as an attack on the position that you're in. When you start a business, when you do a certain thing, and you pioneer, and you do a lot of trailblazing, people that you don't even know is not going to like you. So the certain person, in this case Mordecai, represents a certain group, just didn't kneel down to him. When the officials and the king's, verse 3, I'm sorry, then the royal officials in the king's gate asked Mordecai, why do you disobey the king's command? Day after day they spoke to him, but he refused to comply. He just refused to kind of just bow down and just, show this guy honor. Therefore they told Haman about it to see what Mordecai's behavior would be tolerated, for he had told that he was a Jew. Haman saw Mordecai. When Haman saw Mordecai would not kneel or pay him honor, he was enraged. Excuse me, I got allergies going on and I don't want to sneeze, but I may have to. Excuse me. Thank you. I don't know if I can be able to edit all these sneezes out, but we'll do something. Anyway, day after day, they spoke to him and he refused to comply. I'm going to go to verse 5. Oh, we read verse 10. Yet having learned who Mordecai's people were, he scorned the idea of only killing Mordecai. Instead, Haman looked for a way to destroy all of Mordecai's people, the Jews, throughout the whole kingdom of Xerxes. And I'm going to pause right there. So basically, he just said, okay. And this is something I want you to apply to when it comes to you working with a certain job or something. Sometimes, I'm not saying you don't like the supervisor, but you can almost tell the spirit of Haman on certain people because they want you to get in fear when they walk in the room. Or they want you to kind of act a certain way when they're around. They want you to feel like I'm in control and you're just underneath my foot. And you being a child of God, you're just not like that. You're kind of like Mordecai, like, I'm not going to bow down. Everybody else is like, that's such. They pretend like they're working when this person comes in the room or whatever. But this person, and I'm just saying this person because maybe some of you can identify with that, they have this kind of complex about them where they feel like everybody needs to just cater to them. And it's a spirit, actually. It's a spirit of Haman, where they feel as though that just because you're not acting like everybody else, you must be the enemy. So they'll turn around, make your job miserable, make your life miserable, because in essence, they feel like you are making their lives miserable. Y'all get what I'm saying so far? Certain people, this is what I've recognized, certain people who are not used to leading or not used to being in control, once they get it, they can't handle it. They have the title and people will bow down because they have to, but people don't bow down because they want to. In other words, you want to be the type of leader that people will follow you not because they have to, but because they want to. You know? I try very hard to make that atmosphere here at the church. I don't think you all have to come. Ain't nobody coming to your house and putting you in a chokehold talking about, come to this church. Y'all come because y'all like it. Well, God is moving on your heart some kind of way. Otherwise, you wouldn't even break through those doors. So you want to be the kind of person in leadership, and I feel like I'm speaking to you all as when it comes to the future, that's what this teaching is about, is that when you get into these areas of influence, make sure that this spirit does not attach itself to you. Because it only attaches itself to leadership. It doesn't attach itself to anything else. So when you're in leadership and you're in a position of influence, if you're not careful, you can get a little high-minded. Because that seat itself of authority kind of commands you to kind of be this way. So always watch for leaders who, you know, if somebody don't agree with them, look at how they react when Mordecai shows up. Do they say, oh, they don't agree with me, punch him in the face, punch him in the face? Do they do that kind of stuff? Uh-oh, what I just did. Now y'all all thinking about one person. Anyway. But think about it. It's a spirit. Because when that seat comes, the only person that can last in that is the person who don't have the spirit of Haman. Because everybody's not going to agree with you, and that's okay. You got to learn how to handle people who are with you and people who are against you. And you still got to treat them with respect. You still got to love them. They may get on your last nerve. You see them coming, you want to go the other way. But you as a leader has to get to the point where you say, you know what, I'm going to confront this thing. And I'm not going to let this thing bother me. But Haman didn't get that memo. So this is what happens. He saw Mordecai not bowing. And instead of him just saying, okay, I'm going to bring you up to where I'm at. No, he went down and started answering his critics and started going down and started punching down here. When you're in a position of influence, your number one task is to bring people up, not to go down where they're at. Because if they're cussing you out and rolling their neck and everything, and you're supposed to be in this position, and by the time you start cussing them out and rolling your neck too, you have just went down to their level. So Haman was like that. He recognized that other people are not with him. So in his attempt of trying to just gain control, because he thinks he's going to be rebelling to something, he feels as though that I need to neutralize this threat. I need to kill anything that doesn't agree with me. I need to make it a hard time with anybody who doesn't see things my way. And that's a dangerous thing for a leader to do. Because what happens is you can turn into a dictatorship. And then God doesn't like that, because God is not like that. I mean, you think God is freaking out because other people don't believe in Jesus? He's not sweating bullets. He's not, coming down and he's doing everything he can through the church to make sure that the name is out there. But God is not, going crazy because other people don't want to worship Jesus. And we have to be more like God when it comes to that. Okay? So, Haman decided he wanted to kill everybody. And then, this is what he did with his position, verse 8. In fact, somebody just read verse 8, if you don't mind. And read, just read verse 8. And I'll explain what I saw here.
And Haman said to King Xerxes, there is a certain people dispersed among the peoples in all the provinces of your kingdom who keep themselves separate. Their customs are different than those of all other people, and they do not obey the king's laws. It is not in the king's best interest to tolerate them.
Verse 9, too, if you don't mind, please.
If it pleases the king, let a decree be issued to destroy them, and I will give 10,000 talents of silver to the king's administrators for the royal treasury.
All right, so basically this kind of leader uses his influence to badmouth everybody else underneath him. Wow. This kind of leader uses their position because they're close enough to supreme leadership to kind of talk down against everybody else. You got to be careful on people on how they use their influence. Do they use it to tear down, or do they use it to build up? The best type of leaders are not the ones who tear down people underneath them. They're the ones, if you see it's a gap, so you see there's issues there, you get down, you roll up your sleeves, and you assist in it. But don't be trying to say, well, you know, these people are the issue, and you're using your influence. Because you know the people going to listen to you because you're in the seat of authority, so they're going to listen to you. But if you're using it to say, you know, you need to watch this one because they're blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff, instead of actually kind of working with this person, then you may have a spirit of Haman on you. Haman is the kind of people that they like the influence. They like a lot of attention on them. They like a lot of distractions on them because they want to be the focus. They don't want anybody else to be the focus. So what you have to do is ask yourself, Lord, do I have this kind of spirit on me? Do I have the kind of spirit where I need to be the one that's in the spotlight? Because I'm trying to lead. I mean, the leadership ability is good. But if you have one of those things where you have to be number one, you have to be right, you have to be on top, then something is not right there. And sadly, in the body of Christ, there's a lot of leaders that got this spirit. They don't want to be told no. Why? Because I'm in control. You see what I'm saying? They don't want to be told that instead of just working with somebody, they'd rather just, let's kill them. Let's just give it up. Let's punch them in the face. Just punch them in the face. You know, spirit of Haman. So he uses influence to belittle somebody else instead of getting down and helping the next person. So that was verse 9. I'm going to go to verse 10. So the king, well, I'll just paraphrase it. There's a lot to do. So the king said, with a signet ring, he basically said, okay, I trust you because I placed you in a seat of authority. You're an advisor to me. If you say it's wrong, it must be wrong. So here, take my signet ring and just do what you need to do. So he did it, right? And look at what it says right here. I'm going to go down to verse. Okay, so basically he wrote a letter in the king's name. He wrote a letter in the king's name saying, we're going to kill all these Jews on a certain day. And then the Bible says in a copy of that letter, in verse 14, a copy of that text of the edict or that letter was issued as a law in every province and made known to the people in every nationality so they will be ready for that day. So all the enemies of the Jews got that letter, and it said, on this day it's law for you to kill any Jew that you see. And they were like, oh yeah, we're about to make it rain then. So they start going out and they start getting everybody getting ready for this one day. But look what it says right here. Verse 15. Spurred by the king's command, the couriers went out, and an edict was issued in the city of Susa. Here it is. The king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city of Susa was bewildered. The king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city of Susa was bewildered. So the leadership is up there having a good time, but everybody underneath them is freaking out. So it lets you know what kind of leadership you have. If the leaders think, oh yeah, we're all good, but everybody connected to them is freaking out, and everybody else is bewildered, and everybody else is stressed out, you can always tell the quality of a leader by seeing the kind of people that follows him. So if you got all of this up here and you look all important, but everybody connected to you is defeated and disgusted and everything, and they got bad attitudes, it tells a lot about your leadership. So the question is, not only who am I leading, but what kind of people am I leading? That's how you get honest with yourself and put the thermometer in your own mouth. Yeah, I'm a good leader. I'm a good leader. How do you know? Look at the people that's behind you. If they all freaked out, you're not a good leader. If they're all stable and founded and got a good thing, then you're doing pretty good then. Not to put pride on yourself, but the Bible talks about that. Don't you say to yourself that I'm doing something good. The Bible says let somebody else say that. So the proof is in the pudding by the people who you're leading. Okay? So look at people, and sometimes God places you on a difficult job, and you may be working under a spirit of Haman person, just so you can see what not to do. Because you can always say to yourself, Lord, if I'm in that position, I'm going to treat these people right. If I was in that position, I'm going to do the right thing. If I was in that position, now you know that because the Haman person, ran you through the river. So watch out for these kinds of spirits. And then what you do, when you see that spirit, Matthew chapter 18, verse 18, bind it. You see that kind of spirit and somebody, just because you didn't say hi to them or just because you didn't do this and just because you didn't cater to them and they got an attitude with you, don't address them, bind the spirit. And you lose something else. Everybody say spirit of Haman.
Spirit of Haman.
All right. So here's the two contrasts of leadership. We're going to go to chapter 4, Esther. And somebody just read. Leslie, you mind reading 1, 2, and 3, please?
When Mordecai learned of all that had been done, he tore his clothes, put his sackcloth in ashes, and went out into the city, wailing loudly and bitterly. But he went only as far as the king's gate, because no one clothed in sackcloth was allowed to enter. In every province to which the edict and order of the king came, there was a great mourning among the Jews, with fasting, weeping, and wailing. Many lay in sackcloth and ashes.
All right. So the whole community that had a Jewish population, everybody was still freaked out. Everybody was still fasting because of this one law or this one thing that this guy did. So, I mean, you think about it, and I keep going back to jobs because that's what you all can kind of identify with. This one person, this manager in position, says, we're going to do something new. We do something new, and everybody's freaked out now. Not because of change, but because it's hurting everybody. But they don't have a voice, really, because they're just the people, because this person is in control. Sometimes God will allow you to experience that so that you can be touched and sensitive to the needs of other people when you get in that position. Because make no mistake about it, you are going to be in positions of influence. You really are. And you're going to have the ability to be just like this Haman person and say something that's going to destroy everybody else, or you're going to be like the Esther person, which is in verse 4. So I'm going to read that real quick. When Esther's maids and the eunuchs came and told Mordecai, she was great distress too. So in other words, this kind of leadership, if she sees or if he sees that everybody underneath is distressed, guess what? It makes them distressed. They don't get all tough to be you. No, they are touched with the infirmities of everybody else. You want somebody that's in a position of leadership that can actually feel the heartbeat of everybody else. Again, everybody's not going to agree with you, but at least you got to be sensitive to why is everybody distressed? How would I feel if I was in that position? What would happen if this was to happen to me? And Esther felt that way. She was one of those leaders that came from the background to the forefront, just like Haman, but her heart was different. So when you lead and you start noticing the people underneath you or that's connected to you, and they're all kind of like, on edge, something ought to hit your heart and like, what's going on? Something ought to hit your heart and say, well, let's kind of go there. Look at what she did. The Bible says in verse 4, verse 5, Esther summoned her eunuch guy, king's eunuch, assigned him to attend to her, ordered him to find out what was troubling. In other words, she got some information. What's going on with everybody? Because I'm in palace, I don't really know what's going on outside. So I got to at least know what's going on real quick. Verse 6. So Haman went out to Mordecai. Mordecai told him the whole story and showed him the letter, showed him how much, what's going to happen, and all these Jews going to be killed on one day and so forth. So he went back, verse 9, went back and reported to Esther, and then she instructed him. In other words, well, first, I skipped over a few things. She tried to bring him up by giving him other clothes. She said, take off those sackcloths, let me give you something else. So in other words, this kind of leadership got down on their knees and would say, hey, what's going on? Let me help you bring you up instead of just kind of, beating them down. Since they're already destroyed, this kind of leadership will say, let's see what we can do to kind of bring you up to a certain level. Okay? And that's something that God has to really reveal to you. See, nobody didn't tell Esther that. It was just instinctive for me to just do this. Okay? And because it wasn't instinctive for everybody else, like Haman. He didn't care that the whole city was freaked out, but Esther did. Okay? Hope y'all getting stuff out of it. He's just reading today. Y'all okay? Okay. What verse? 11. Okay. All the king's officials and the people in the royal province know that. Okay. So basically, he said, tell the Queen Esther that she needs to go to the king and tell him that we're in trouble. Use her authority. Use your authority. Since you're in a seated position, you need to use that for the greater good. And then she said, I can't go to the king because he didn't summon me. If the king didn't summon me and I just show up in the room without being called on, I can get killed. That's the only law he has. If nobody call you and you walk up in this throne room, if I don't point this scepter at you, then they're going to cut your head off, basically. That's how strict it was. So he said, Mordecai said this. I'm going to read it because I don't want to just quote it. I want us to kind of all look at it together. Esther's words were reported back. Okay, verse 12. Let's go to verse 12. When Esther's words were reported to Mordecai, he sent back this answer. Do not think that just because the king's house, just because you're in the king's house, you alone and all other Jews will escape. For if you remain silent, everybody say silent.
Silence.
If you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows? But by this you have come to a royal position for such a time as this. Let's read that part again. Who knows that? And who knows but that you have come to a royal position for such a time as this? The reason why God placed you in a leadership position in the first place, because He knew what was going to happen. So sometimes, I know I ask this question a lot. Lord, why did you put me in this seat? Who am I? I'm nobody. What did I do? God says, I have a reason why. It's going to be a certain time that you're going to be needed. But you can't just look at what you're looking at right now. So when people start to elevate you and put you in a position, or you start that business, or you write that book, or you do this, or you do that, and then all of a sudden you're in this area of influence, the reason why God allows you to go in that area, because He knows you're needed, because there's a Goliath coming soon. There's some type of Haman coming soon, and you're going to need to use your influence with the heartbeat of God to kind of make sure that everything is flowing right, because God is not going to come down from heaven and stop all this stuff. He needs godly leaders and godly leadership so that God's will can be done. Because if you're a godly person, God has your heartbeat, and you'll be able to know how to operate. But this person didn't have God's Spirit. So the only reason why it seems like to me that Esther got the position of being the queen is not because she was so pretty. She probably was pretty. It's not that she was just so nice and had a good smile. That probably was true. But the main reason is because God had her heart. And God knew that you're going to be needed for this time, because no other queen would have cared for the Jews like you. So that's why we can't always look at what we're looking at right now, because God knows why He placed us there. Okay? So He says, so who knows? You'll probably be in this position for such a time as this. So I love this part, verse 15. Then Esther sent this reply, go and gather all the Jews who are in Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days or night. I and my maid will fast as you do. When this is done, I will go to the king, even though it's against the law. And if I die, I die. Look at the leadership potential, or the leadership type of style that this person says. That basically, if y'all gonna die, I'm gonna die with you. I'm not gonna just let y'all die and say, man, that's too bad. It was real sad. No, the same thing's gonna happen to you is gonna happen to me. So we will rise and we will fall together. I'm not gonna be the only one that's gonna rise it, and then you all are gonna stay there. You're not gonna be the only one that rises. And I just no, we're gonna all be in this thing together. It's one big team. That's what he's talking about. That when you are in this area of leadership, make sure that you don't just see just you and the people behind you. See yourself as us. This is what we're going to do. You may be the spokesperson or the head or the visionary or whatever, but you're nothing without the people. And you have to see that as, if you don't make it, I don't make it. If you make it, then we make it. So that's what Esther said. If I die, then I'm going to be among the rest of you all that died too. I might as well just die first then, if that's the case. So she fasted, she prayed, she was a person of prayer. Leadership, you can't be in real good leadership unless you're a person of prayer. She obviously knew about fasting. You gotta fast because you gotta get wisdom from God and so forth. But that position does not mean that you just kind of oh, okay, I have arrived. I ain't gotta pray no more. I ain't gotta fast anymore because I'm in my dream. I'm living my dream. I'm living in my big house. I'm living in this. I got my right car. I really gotta pray. No, you probably need to pray more because something is coming. And the only reason why you are in that position is because you're the only one well able to defeat this thing that's coming. Read God. All right. So if I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went out and they carried out all of Esther's instructions. So if you all know the story, basically, she went into the king. She almost could have died, but she just showed up anyway. They were having their little, I don't know, joint chiefs of staffs meeting or whatever. So she just busted through the door and just stood there. And, the king could have said, okay, y'all can kill her now and let's get back to what we're doing. But he said, no, she's fine. So I'm going to take this scepter here, and let her do what she needs to do. So anyway, she ended up not getting killed, and he said to her, since you're just going to come in like this, what is so urgent? What do you need? And then he said, I'll give you anything you want to have my kingdom. And she said, the only thing I need is for you to come to me, you and Haman to come to this dinner meeting that I have later on today. That's all I want. You bust into the meeting for that? Yeah. Can you come to this meeting? I mean, I was cooking all night, and I need you to come to this dinner. Okay. Haman, you hear that? Yeah, I hear that. So Haman, he's thinking, okay, because my position, I'm all this anyway. So they get to the dinner meeting or whatever. He said, okay, we're here, me and Haman. What you want? And she said, well, the only request I need is that you come tomorrow to the same dinner meeting. You're like, wait a minute, you stopped the Joint Chiefs of Staff meeting. We came to your dinner, and your request is just for us to come back tomorrow? And I looked at that. True leadership don't just throw anything out there. You get that? It was short notice, number one, but it wasn't together. So yes, you could be in a place of influence, but you got to have your stuff together. You can't just say, oh, we're going to do this, and you just kind of made that up. No. Write it down. Write the vision. Make it plain. So she showed up just to get the attention, but the attention was not on the dinner for that day. The attention was for the steps ahead. Sometimes God will allow you to kind of just, if you're going to be in leadership, you can't just think of what's going on right now. We need to fix this right now. No, you need to have 3 steps down the line. I played chess with my youngest son, Isaiah. And he's a chess player. He's real good at it too. So he taught me how to play chess. And one thing I learned about chess, you can't win unless you're at least 3 or 4 steps down the line. You got to set up all of your stuff in a certain way so that you can make the, kill the king or whatever, checkmate or whatever they call it. And that's how you got to be in leadership. Sometimes, you probably can't just throw something out there. But if you don't have some type of organization, some kind of structure, some kind of plan, then you can do it out there, but it's not going to last. You need to kind of plan things out. That's why, me personally, I work real hard throughout the week to get just this one service together. And you'd be surprised how much stuff has to go into this one service. But you got to make phone calls, you got to send emails, you got to do all this kind of stuff just for 1 hour and a half service. But I'm a planner. I do this, number one, because I love you all. I ain't going to just throw anything out there like, okay, we're here, open your Bibles, I guess we're going to go to Ezra. I ain't going to do that. I'm going to make sure I have some kind of plan together, because leadership involves planning. It doesn't just involve, I'm in front, y'all listen to what I got to say until I say we done. That's not leadership. You got to have some structure. Everybody say structure. Structure. So that's why she bust into that meeting and just said, come today, but I don't want you, really, I want you for tomorrow, because that's what my plan is in. So, he said, okay, you got my attention, I'll come tomorrow. And so, that was it. So Haman left. Came to that meeting, wasted a little bit of my time, but at least I got some more points with the king. He left that meeting, and verse 9, we're in chapter 5, look at verse 9. Let's see here. Miss Andrew, do you have that? Esther chapter 5, verse 9?
Yes.
Can you please read 9 and 10, please?
Haman left the king's palace that day, happy and content. Then he saw Mordecai at the king's gate, and he saw that Mordecai did not stand up, nor did he tremble with fear before him. So Haman became very angry with Mordecai, but he controlled his anger and went home.
All right, let's stop right there. So he was already on good cloud 9. He was already happy. Everything was going his way, and he let one person or one situation take his joy. He let one person that didn't like him take his joy. He let one email from some critic, and he gonna mess around and hit reply to give him a piece of his mind. He let that happen. Sometimes if you keep swatting at a fly, you'll drive the whole bus off the road swatting at a fly. Let those critics say what they're gonna say, and you keep on moving forward. You ain't gotta answer them, because they don't know what God has for you anyway. And so Haman fell to that trap of, okay, this person don't like you. What you gonna say? Well, I'm gonna tell you what we gonna do. So he started rolling his neck and doing Thriller and everything. And all of a sudden, it's like you were just on cloud nine. Everything was just fine. You're having a good day. Just because this person didn't bow down to you, now all of a sudden you got an attitude now. You're going home and you got an attitude with your family because one person didn't agree with your statement. In leadership, you gotta recognize everybody's not gonna agree with you. And it's okay. That's how it works. But don't you be trying to push yourself forward. You're gonna listen to me today. You don't gotta do all that. All you gotta do is just stand in your authority. If you gotta announce who you are, then that means you're not really the person in charge. I never go home and say, I'm the man of this house. If I do that, that means I'm not the man of the house. All I gotta do is just show up, and they know it's the man of the house right there. That's all you gotta do. You ain't gotta announce who you are. Jesus came to earth, and he didn't just quote unquote announce I'm the Son of God. He just did the works of the Son of God. And that's how you gotta be if you're authentic. Just do it. And don't worry about the naysayers, because you're gonna have naysayers. Everything you do, you're gonna have naysayers. Somebody's gonna tell you it can't be done. All right, what verse I stop off on? 10 and 11. Okay, so watch this. So nevertheless, he restrained himself and he went home. Oh, I'm sorry, you had some more meeting there, but that's fine. Go ahead and read that part.
Okay, it says, then Haman called his friends and Zeresh, his wife, together.
Go ahead and read 11 and 12 and 13.
Okay. And he told them about how wealthy he was and how many sons he had. He also told them about all the ways the king had honored him. And he told them how the king had placed him higher than his important men.
Let's pause right there if you don't mind. This kind of person always like to talk about how much they are achieving a lot of things. Look at my credentials, look at me, look how good I am, look how bad I am, look how many sons I got, and don't you want to be like me? You know, that kind of thing going on when this person had that Haman spirit. They're always looking at themselves. He's not talking about everybody else, he's really talking about himself. And so he got that self-praise. But you know what I found out, family? Most of those people who have that kind of complex wrestle with insecurity. The reason why they had to do that is because somewhere in their mind they know they're not really worthy. So they got to kind of show you how big and bad they are. So they try to intimidate you by standing over you and telling you how strong they are. But because they're insecure, they're small themselves. So he went home boasting about, look how great I am. Look how I got it made, and everybody wanted to be like me, and I went to the king, and all this kind of stuff, and I just had a private dinner with the queen, and nobody can do that. So let's keep reading. What is it?
And then it says, and his royal officers. Okay, verse 12.
Okay.
And that's not all, Haman added. I'm the only person Queen Esther invited to come with the king to the banquet she gave. And tomorrow also the queen had asked me to be her guest with the king.
I like that emphasizing. I like how she's emphasizing it. That's good.
But all of this does not really make me happy. I'm not happy as long as I see that Jew Mordecai sitting at the king's gate.
Right. So you all see the story that's going on so far, right? It's like tomorrow, you know, I got this nice other planned dinner. Everything is good. I got all these officials behind me, and everybody is saluting me, and I got all these sons, I got all this money, and tomorrow I got another private dinner. But I'm throwing that all away because this one person don't agree with me. He hasn't realized that it's a whole community of people that won't agree with you. You may just see one, but that one represents more than you think. But he want to focus on the one. And a lot of times I think a lot of people focus on the negative too much more than the positive. It's all this other good stuff going on, but you get one bad email and you want to just focus on that. And all this other Facebook likes or thumbs up and everything is going on over here, but you want to focus on the one person give you a thumbs down, and you want to respond to them. You're too big for that. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way, but you're too big for that. Don't always respond to those thumbs down people, because sometimes the moment you respond, you just gave them a platform. Spit. Holy Spirit. So you have to bring them up to where you're at, because once you go down like that and you respond, you hit reply or whatever,
Yeah.
you just gave them an audience. I don't know about you, I don't like giving Satan any kind of audience at all. They're going to say what they're going to say. And you keep on doing what you call to do. Because I guarantee you, when Esther got to be queen, there was a lot of people who probably didn't like her, but you didn't even see it in the Bible. Why? Because she didn't even pay attention to it. So everybody's going to have hate mail. Everybody. So how you handle it determines what kind of leader you are. He keeps responding to those critics. And sometimes you just don't, God kind of sees that you're not ready for leadership then. So we're at the point where the next day, he's going to have another private dinner. And so he told his wife and told his friends and everything how great he was. And then he says, you know, that's not all this is happening, but as long as I see Mordecai sitting at the king's gate, you know, I don't regard any of this. Verse 14, his wife and all his friends said to him, have a gavel or a hangman or a pole set up that is 75 feet high, and ask the king in the morning, what morning? The morning tomorrow, the same day that you're supposed to be going to this private dinner. Ask the king in the morning to have Mordecai hang on it. Yeah, we know you're going to kill all the Jews, but why don't you kill him first thing in the morning? He said, that sounds real good. So he went and got a pole 75 feet high. You can tell he's just looking at it like, yeah, I can just see him tomorrow. He's going to be hanging, and this feet going to be about right here. Then I'm going to spit on him and all kinds of stuff. So he planned it out in his mind how he's going to destroy somebody else. And sometimes a person with a spirit of Haman, they will go all out of their way just to try to trap one person. They will have write-ups and they have all kinds of stuff, have all this kind of stuff to make you look bad just so they can do one thing to hang you. You got to be careful of people who put that much energy into destroying somebody. It's not a right kind of spirit when it comes to leadership. Again, people are not going to like you anyway, but how you respond to it, by keep on planning on how you're going to kill them, how you're going to destroy them, how you're going to ruin them, and I'm going to send this thing, and I'm going to say this thing, and see how they react, and all that kind of stuff. That's the spirit of Haman. The word hits you, it didn't mean to miss you. Yeah, I like this teacher. I like this teacher. You know why? Because people need to recognize certain spirits to bind and loose, because I remember when I was working at a job, I had a supervisor that had a spirit of Haman on them. And I was doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing. I'm a cool guy. I kind of get along with everybody. You know? I don't cause trouble. If I'm at a job, I'm going to do the job. I'm going to come in on time. I'm going to do my work. Every now and then, I may not be the best employee or whatever, but I'm not destroying the company either. And then sometimes you'll get certain people of influence that just don't like you, and they may make it hard for you. And even though you're not measuring up to everything else, in their eyes, you're just the worst thing ever. So they want to bring you in office and tell you what you're not doing and all this. They want to write you up. They want to do all this kind of stuff. And I remember one particular time that I was, just doing what I was called to do. And the person brought me in the office. Most people on the internet would know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to say names like that, but I'm just giving this illustration. The person in the office said, okay, you got 6 months to turn this around, or I'm going to let you go. That's what they said. So I went home. And I went before God. I said, okay, God, this person said I got 6 months. You know what I've been doing. I've been doing everything I can. I know you're not going to let my family suffer. And so I'm going to keep on doing what you called me to do. So I went in and I was, doing my work. I didn't still bow down and be all scared at this person or anything. I was just kind of like Mordecai. Not that I was hating on him, but I was just like, I'm just not going to bow down like everybody else. And that person just didn't like that. Well, it turns out that this same person was doing that to everybody else who didn't bow down to them. I didn't know that until the end. So anyway, I'm doing my job, doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. And then turns out this person was just on everybody's bad side, and it was ruining the organization. So the overseer brought them in office. This was all about the 6 month time. Overseer brought them in office and said, all of these reports I keep hearing about you, it's not good. So I gotta let you go. The same day that I'm supposed to be let go 6 months was turned around on that person, and they was let go in 6 months. And so I recognize that's a Haman spirit then. But some people have that kind of thing where they are setting you up just so they can set you up and trip you up. Don't try to respond. Just stay in the word. God will fight your battles. You ain't gotta try to prove your point. campaigning, going to other people. This person said this about me. Did they say that about you? You ain't got to do all that. All you got to do is just keep on doing what God calls you to do, and God will fight your battles. Because God knows which one is right, and He knows which one is trying to destroy. So He set up the pole, 75 feet high. One thing as a side note, the book of Esther is not one of my favorite, but it's one of the most unique books in the Bible, because throughout the whole book of Esther, there's not one mention of God. It's the only book in the Bible where God is not mentioned, but you can see God all through the whole story. And so sometimes you may look in a situation where it looks like God's not even here. This is not even a Christian environment. This is not such. But God is all in the situation behind the scenes. He's just not kind of coming out and saying, I'm God, or something like that, So sometimes you got to look at that. Don't be thinking, God didn't call me to this job because there are a bunch of heathens here. Maybe He did call you. Because you need to be that light there, Because people you don't want to, I'm not saying you don't want to work around all Christians, but I'm just saying that you got to go into dark places if you're the light of the world. So you may be the only Christian on your job. So don't see it as, Lord, get him out of here. No, you need to stay there. You probably need to stay there until you work out some of this stuff. Am I talking to y'all so far?
Yeah.
Okay, somebody raising their hand. Okay, well, you need to stay there a little bit then. But, well, I'm just saying, let the Holy Spirit reveal that to you. But my point is, if God has you there, that means you are raised up like Esther for such a time as this. So you got to use that to your advantage. And don't complain, oh Lord, I'm going to work again. Here I go. You're going to have to bless me double. No, this is the day the Lord has made. We're going to rejoice and be glad in it. Speak the word over your life when you're going to work. When you clock in, when you see that person come around the corner, you're like, oh, Jesus. No. Let God's Spirit be in you and let that light shine. So don't react like Haman. Don't react trying to start something. If they're going to kind of have that kind of attitude, then you got to bind it and do something opposite. You see what I'm saying? It's spiritual warfare. Sometimes you got to anoint your boss's door.
Yeah.
See the
chair
right. Yes.
You got to take the blessed oil. Take the blessed oil and just start slinging it all over the place. Just start swinging that oil. But you got to do that kind of stuff in these hostile work environments, because you're called for such a time as that. And God is trying to remove some of these people out the way, but there's so much other negative spirits that God can't move, so He can move through you. And it may be a bad situation. They may try to say, we bind you up, we're going to let you go, whatever. But God is still having some kind of avenue where He can get rid of that person so He can put you in that position. So don't despise these hard times of working and other things like that, okay? Because one day you're going to be in that same position. And you have to be different from this Haman person. Because that's what God is trusting for you to see. He's trying to see, can I trust you with this? Because I've been trying to remove this person all this time, but I'm trying to see who's the right person that can actually fill the void. And since all this spotlight is on you and there's a lot of negative stuff on you, I may just be using this as a campaign to put you in a position. Even though you may say, Lord, no, I don't want, but you're the most qualified because you're needed in this hour. So use that boss as a workout. Work out your salvation. Because God is doing something in all of your lives. All right? I don't know where I'm at. Where? Chapter 6? Oh, okay, yeah. I finished all that. Okay. Yeah, we're just reading the Bible today. It's like, let's go on 2 chapters. Let's go to this next chapter and we may read a little of chapter 7. Y'all get anything out of this? Everybody okay? All right. Chapter 6. So that night, notice, and I like that part, because the next day, he was going to do all of this evil stuff to Mordecai. He was going to hang him, and he was going to go to the dinner, and just do all that kind of stuff. So he went out to tell the king what he wanted to do. And that same night, the king couldn't sleep. That very same night. So the king is up, and he was saying, verse 6, chapter 6, verse 1, that night the king could not sleep, so he ordered the book of the Chronicles and the records to be to his reign to be brought in and read before him. So they didn't have internet. He couldn't pull up Google and see what was the history. So he had to have someone read it to him because he couldn't sleep. It was boring, so he wanted something to put him to sleep. He still couldn't sleep, but that was the supernatural thing that God had him up. Sometimes God will keep you up like that because it's something that's going to happen later that day, And you got to be alert. And you don't know why am I up? You probably need to pray, because something's going to happen behind that day. Verse 2. It was found in the records that Mordecai had exposed these two hard names. I won't try to say that. The two of them, king's officials who guard the doorway and conspired to assassinate the king. Let's just paraphrase that. So he couldn't sleep. He had somebody come in and read the records. As they were reading the records, he found out that, somebody tried to assassinate the king. And then Mordecai exposed it. Said, hey, these guys are trying to assassinate the king. And they end up catching those guys, put them in jail, or cut their heads off, whatever they did next time. Probably cut their head off. And then the king said, wow, he did all that? How come nobody didn't tell me? And they said, well, I don't know. We just, So he said, look, what did we do for him? Did we buy him a cake or anything? A thank you card? No, we didn't do anything. You mean to tell me we just kind of just let him go? Even though he saved my life and nothing happened? Yeah, we just kind of just let him go back home to his house. And then the king like, oh, no, we can't do that. We're better than that. We're the powerful kingdom on the earth. We got to do something. We got to have, give him a balloon or something. We got to do something. So what happened was, he said, what the king was saying all this, and he said, who was that in the courtyard? And the guy said, oh, that's your boy Haman. So he says, well, that's your boy Haman. Okay, we'll bring him in here then. So Haman was out there just about to ask king, I need to kill this guy named Mordecai on this thing in the morning. Is that okay? Can I get your signature on that? Can you sign off on this paperwork? He was just about to ask that, and it turns out that Mordecai was the main guy who just helped the king out. So you got the dilemma. So Haman came in, and then before Haman could say anything, the king said, hey Haman, what would you do for somebody who you really like? Somebody who you really want to honor? And Haman, with his prideful, arrogant self, said, ooh, who's more honorable than me? He started thinking to himself, oh, you want to honor somebody, huh? So he started thinking, oh, okay, we know what you're talking about. So he said, if I were you, king, I would do this. I would take one of those big, strong horses that you always ride, those king's horses. I would wear one of those robes that you always wore, put it on that person, and I would put a gold ring on him. I would put all this kind of stuff. And then I'll take some other guy that will lead him through the marketplace, shouting out loud, this is who the king honors. This is who the king honors. So he was like, yeah, because in his mind, that's going to be me. I'm going to be on that big horse right there with that king robe. I want that robe right there. He's thinking like this. And then the king said, that's a great idea. Go do that to Mordecai. He said, but my name's not Mordecai. My name's Haman. He said, no. Go do it to Mordecai. You mean the same guy that in his mind, the same guy that I plan on killing, you want me to do that to him? Yes. So that's exactly what happened. And he said, and you, Haman, you're going to be the guy who's going to take him through the street and start proclaiming, this is the man who the king honors. Now, this is the same day that he was planning on killing Mordecai, right? So that's what happened right here. Verse, let me see. Haman went out, I did that. Go at once. Let's go to verse 10. Go at once, the king commanded. Get the robe, get the horse, and do just like you have said for Mordecai the Jew. Don't neglect anything that you have recommended. So, verse 11, and he got the robe, he eating humble pie right here. And he got the robe and the horse. He rode Mordecai. He led him on horseback through the city, proclaiming, this is what's done for the man the king honors. That's what he was saying, right? He put some emphasis on it, but he didn't like that. He had to eat that humble pie. Can you imagine Mordecai getting off the horse when he's done? Slap him on the back. Thanks, Haman. Appreciate that. What else we got? And then Haman, oh, don't you touch me.
Right.
Oh. And so he's already thinking, I can't ask the king to hang him now because that plot is already spoiled. Let me just go home because I got to go to this dinner later on today anyway. See, he don't know that things are getting from bad to worse. He don't know that yet. So he went home with his tail tucked between his legs, went home, told his wife, they're like, oh, you can't hang Mordecai because it's going to all backfire on you. So, as he was talking, verse 14, while they were still talking with him, the king's eunuchs arrived and hurried Haman away to the banquet. That's what he was planning on anyway, that big banquet. So here's the last chapter. My goodness, we read 4 chapters through the Bible, but we're almost there. This is the last chapter. All right, chapter 7, verse 1. So the king and Haman went to dine with Queen Esther. And as they were drinking wine on that second day, the second meeting, the king asked, all right, Esther, we're here again. What do you need? Even if it's half my kingdom. But notice she's a planner now. So she got all her stuff planned out. She knew how she's going to say it, what she's going to do. She already got the chips in place. She got the positions, everything. She knows what they're going to eat. She knows what they're going to drink. She knows everything. So she's a planner. What do you want, Esther? There always will be a moment of truth. If you've always planned for something so well, and you have written the vision, and you have written the business plan, and you have done everything, there's going to be a day of exposure that will happen. And you have to be ready for it. You can't shrink back on that day of exposure, because once it's there, you got to just move forward with it. So, you've been planning all this time. The king comes and says, what do you want? So that's what it says right here. Verse 3. And the queen answered, if I found favor in your eyes, king, if it pleases your majesty, here's my request. Grant me my life. This is my request. Spare my people. This is my request. For I, verse 4, for I and my people have been sold for destruction and slaughter and annihilation. If we had merely been sold as male and slaves, we could have accepted that, but I wouldn't have came to you, bust into that Joint Chiefs of Staff meeting if it wasn't so urgent. Alright? And then, I don't know about y'all, but any husband, nothing can get a husband more upset when he finds out that somebody's threatening or talking crazy to his wife. Even the nicest guy will get a little line in him when they hear that, somebody is, talking crazy to your wife, or they doing this, and you're like, what the heck? T.I., what the heck? No. What the heck? He's like, what? What happened? Wait, did I just hear you? You just say somebody trying to kill you? Wait, hold on. I'm not talking about the You talking about you? Yeah, they're trying to kill me and my people. Hold on. He's taking off his shirt and everything. He's like, oh. And he started breathing, his heart beating all hard, like, where they at though? Where they at? And so she said, well, I'm glad you asked, King, because he's right there. And you're like, what? The world? Like this big believe, what? No, hold on. I'm not trying to kill you. I'm trying to kill Jews. She's like, well, I'm a Jew. Oh, Lord, you're a Jew. I didn't know that. And so the king saw that he's the guy. He looked at Haman. He just looked at him, and Haman already knew what that looked like. King got up, and then so Haman started pleading for us, like, oh, please, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that. Oh, come on now, let's pray about this guy. Let's pray about this. Let's grab hands, come on, let's pray. And the king was like, he knocked on the door, like, hey, go get the executioner, because I got somebody they're going to take out. And then the guy like, oh, yeah, before you know it, Haman built a 75-foot gallows for Mordecai. Oh, no, the guy that I just gave the horse to, yeah, he was going to hang him on it today. And then he said, go ahead and hang him on it. Hang him on it, So he went crazy. Haman already knew, okay, I'm already dead. I'm dead. And then they hung him and his sons. And then they ended up taking that same position that Haman had and gave it to Mordecai. So that same spirit that says, I'm going to kill you on this day, if you have that kind of Haman spirit, it will turn around and come up against you. And then God will place the righteous leaders in position. That's why I'm not afraid of election. I'm not, because, number one, God knows who's going to be in that seat in November or January or whatever. And I'm not talking about politics. I'm just trying to give you all some stuff to think about. Pray about it. Cast your vote or whatever. But whoever's going to hit that office, God already knows what's going to happen. And he already has a plan. And certain people may be in a certain position for a certain time. And you just kind of just go with it. Pray for the president, whoever the new president's going to be. And but I will say this: that spirit of Haman, it can even hit the White House. It really can. People think, well, you don't agree with me, so we gonna punch you in the face more or whatever. But you got when I said that. But anyway, you got to get to the point where you bind that spirit. That's another thing I'm telling you all, because it hit anybody. Like I said, it hit anybody in leadership. And the reason why I put this in the leadership class, because as you all start to grow more in God and God starts giving more revelation, that prideful spirit will jump on you, and you have to recognize it. And either you're gonna have that spirit like Esther, or you're gonna have that spirit like Haman. But you're gonna have one of them. Esther will always get down and kind of, work with other people. Haman will have the whole city freaking out while he's having drinks with the king. Doesn't care about the rest.
Thank you for listening to Upon the Rock broadcast. If this message has been a blessing, you can help us spread the gospel by sharing this message with your friends. Also, if you're online, please be sure to contact me, either through our website at shakirministries.org or through social media. I would love to hear from you. Together, we can build a godly foundation in the lives of people. Until next time, please know that I'm praying for you, and I hope to see you on our next broadcast.